Hey Bayek, it's me Ian, and in today's video I'm going to look at this. This is a series called Out of the Unknown, and it was broadcast between 1965 and 1971. In fact, the first episode of the first series was 4th of October 1965, and the very last one was the 30th of June 1971, which was in series 4. This was broadcast on BBC Two. It's an anthology series, predominantly in the first three series. It's sci-fi, fantasy, drama, sci-fi, all that kind of mixture. And then in the fourth series, it's all more fantasy and horror even, yes. Some great original stories, because the concept certainly in the first three is that original short stories are dramatized, and they went to short story science fiction stories predominantly, with quite well-known authors, John Wyndham, Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, J.G. Ballard. People of this ilk were approached, and they agreed that their stories, short stories, could be adapted into dramas. And that is a wonderful thing. Now, how did all this come about? I think it's fair to say, again, we have the influence of Sidney Newman. Yes. Now, people are going, who's he? Who's he? Doctor Who. Say no more. That's who I'm saying. ABC TV, right, they had a series called, it was introduced by Boris Karloff. It was called Out of This World. Out of This World. And it consisted of 13 episodes. And guess what the producer was? It was a lady called Irene Shubrick. Irene Shubrick. Now, she is important because the BBC managed to get to agree to be involved in this new project that they were going to put on to BBC Two. BBC Two also was a new station for the BBC. It was branching out. This is an important period again for the BBC in its old drama, and it was looking around. It was looking and seeing that sci-fi and fantasy were very popular. I mean, TV shows of that period, obviously Doctor Who, but Thunderbirds, The Avengers, Man from U.N.C.L.E., Lost in Space, all these were very popular programs, and the BBC was always excellent at producing dramas, as it's got a whole history of. And then it thought, well, we could do this into sci-fi and fantasy, and that's what they did. they took it at a more serious level. They saw this aimed at those who like drama and a serious adult dramas, and who loved a good story. An anthology series was perfect for that, so that's what they did. And they brought in Irene Shewry. Now, I'd just like to make a point here. Again, in this period, to have a female producer was quite rare. And the BBC, once again, were ahead of the game. Don't forget, we've got Verity Lambert, another pioneer, 1963, Doctor Who, as a female producer. Again, I wish people who really go on and, nowadays, actually knew their history. They don't. And this is why I'm always on about history. Anyway, I'm not going to be a preacher man. Oh, well, I just make that point. It's interesting. But anyhow, let's get back to this. Why I love it so much. I really must thank Phil again. Phil, thank you so much for sending me this series. This is right up my street. I absolutely adore this series. It's the kind of series I'm always looking for. It's that 60s vibe, the whole thing from 1960s. It's important as well, and I like the historical aspect. And of course, it goes into the 70s, and the fourth series very much reflects the 70s as well, the beginning of the 70s, 1971. I say there were 49 episodes, and 28 are missing. So there's one partial episode. Now, on this, we've got the 20 episodes. I've been watching them, just totally entranced by them all. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. I've so enjoyed this set. There are also on here, there's 4 reconstructions. You see, people as well who are really into these things. The audio survived, and they've been able to put the audio with like what they call telesnaps, and they've been able to reconstruct. 4 episodes have been reconstructed, which is great. So you get a glimpse of the stories. They say one of them survived partially as well. So there's still a lot missing, sadly. And the hunt continues. Even today, appeals are always put out for archive stories, and this is one of those series that they're looking for, to have more episodes. The last one that was found was in 2006. So that is a little while ago now, but there's always hope, as with Doctor Who, that more will be found. And I really take my hat off to people who are involved in all this. I'd really love to see more of. It's across the whole of the BBC for this terrible policy they had. I can't believe that they wouldn't archive very much, and they just wiped the tapes, particularly prevalent at the beginning of the 70s. It's terrible. It's just so tragic. It really is. It's absolutely tragic what they did. But now they know different, and they're trying to make amends and have brought all this. But this happened right across, there's like early Dad's Army stories which are missing. Morecambe and Wise missing. A lot of dramas of that period, because BBC were brilliant at producing so many great dramas. They've been wiped and missing. And let's say we're trying to make amends now. People are looking out for these episodes, which is great. Anyway, so let's get back to this. So we've got 4 series, right? Now, the series 1 was 12 episodes, and 10 survived. So that is really good. We've got 10 surviving episodes, which is great. It's great to see them. And then series 2 had 13 episodes, but only 4 survive. Series 3, 13 episodes, only 2 survive, and 1 is only partially. But there's 3 that have been reconstructed, but there's not much at all, is there really, on the series 3, sadly. Series 4, 11 episodes, and on this 5 episodes survive, and there's been 1 reconstruction. So that's a little bit better, but it's still, you feel you'd love to see all these other episodes, which is sad, really, but there we are. There was at series 3 and 4 a change of producer. Alan Bromley came in, and series 3 was the first one to be in colour. So they kept the original introduction and music, and all the series were in colour, whereas series 4 they changed the introduction and the colour, and of course in a way it marked the 70s and the change in direction of the series, which, as I say, had gone more fantasy and horror, and it was still doing well. Unfortunately, it then got cancelled, which is a bit sad, really. It was a good programme for BBC Two. It was doing well in the ratings, but at one stage it was second to the Virginia, which the Virginia was a proper popular Western of that time. I remember the Virginia, but this was second to that, and that was, in terms of ratings, that is excellent. So that is basically the story of this anthology. I like a few trivia things. One of the episodes, called The Prophet, which had robots in it, they used in Doctor Who's The Mind Robber second Doctor story, which is interesting. Also, a lot of these stories also reflect, I think, when you look at it, the worries and the way the world was seen, particularly in the early sci-fi stories. You've got concerns about technology. You've got the nuclear threat. It's always there. The apocalyptic things, effects of nuclear war. You've got the utopian societies. You've got authority versus individuals. You've got that change of freedoms in the post-war period of the 60s. 60s is very much a decade where everything is changing, and there's more freedoms perceived in society, with loosening of censorship and everything. It's all there in these stories, and that's what I think makes it even more exciting how it is. There is, particularly in the last series 4, quite a controversial story called To Lay a Ghost. It's a very intense, atmospheric story, but it was quite controversial because about its rape the rape part of the story, also the sexual nature, and even now it might be considered quite controversial, but the discussions from this are quite interesting, and also it's a very creepy story as well, a very intense story, and it's really well done. That's the thing. I think what elevates everything about this series is the BBC were not messing about. They took this all very seriously and put in the resources to what they are. Don't forget, they had certain limited budgets, but they were able to bring out everything again. You know, even their special effects that they did and what they did are absolutely brilliant. You know, to me, this is what true storytelling and is about. You know, you don't need all these big, massive budgets with massive CGI things nowadays to tell a really good story and be effective and have soul as well and be passionate in that storytelling, which these writers and directors were. You don't get that nowadays always, I'm afraid. That's not totally true, because I think, particularly as I like horror, there's a lot of very creative horror writers around and people and directors producing great films still, and I like that, and I think that's still an attraction of horror. But certainly in some areas of sci-fi and just general dramas, it's action films and all that kind of stuff, it's become all about the CGI and what you're seeing on screen rather than the stories, which is a bit sad. Anyway, let's get back to this. I've just been so happy to have this. It's been a wonderful journey just over the last week watching all these stories. I can't explain how excited I am. And I say again, thanks so much, Phil, for sending me this. And I recommend it to anybody if you can get hold of this. It's just an amazing collection. And what a brilliant job they did. The 7 discs on here. Tremendous. Anyhow, that's it. I thought I'd just share you my enthusiasm and give you a bit of background to all this, and fantastic. Right. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, because then we'll let you know when I produce more of these videos. If you've liked it, well, give it a like. And it all helps with the algorithms and all that stuff that they say, so more people can see it. And there we are, and it costs notes. Everything costs notes, so you can't say fairer than that. Anyhow, all I've got to say is, I'll see thee, and I'll see thee again.